Undefeated in MAAC play coming into the weekend, the baseball team hosted last year's conference champions for a 3-game series. Beat reporter Jacob Resnik joins us live to break down the action.
Two teams honored their seniors on Saturday, found out if they sent them out in a winning way.
We cover all of that and so much more in a jam-packed 15-minute show.
Sports Paws starts right now. Welcome to Sports Paws. I'm Jack Main alongside Jonathan Banks.
And Jack, we're going to kick this off on the baseball diamond as Quinnipiac took on Central Connecticut State. That was last Wednesday. And this game, it was a barn burner. Central Connecticut raced out to a 5-0 lead after 3 innings, but Quinnipiac stormed back. Kevin Husher, hitting second on the day, sent one into the seats for his first home run on the year in the 4th. The Bobcats would plate 3 more runs in the inning to make it a 1-run game. Fast forward to the 7th inning, the Blue Devils are up 8-7 before Liam Scaffarello, the preseason MAAC Player of the Year, hit a go-ahead shot to give the Bobcats a 9-8 lead. It was a 2-run home run, but Peyton Stevens of Central Connecticut had the last laugh as he laced a 2-run double to center field. Central Connecticut would hold the lead from there and win 10-9.
Quinnipiac would look to change its fortunes in a 3-game series against Canisius over the weekend. We'll show you the box score in Game 1. Andrew Sipowicz of Canisius took a perfect game into the 4th inning, and the Golden Griffs offense was rolling, scoring 3 runs in the first 2 innings and 5 more in the 6th inning on. The only offensive highlight for Quinnipiac was a Colton Bender RBI single in the 7th to give Quinnipiac 2 runs. They dropped Game 1 9-2. Game 2 was a little closer. Canisius got off to a fast start thanks to a first inning RBI single by Stephen Bennett to put the Golden Griffs up 1-0. Quinnipiac would tie the game in the 3rd on a sac fly from Andrew Marrero, but that would be all from the offense from Quinnipiac as Canisius would add 2 in the 5th and hold on to a 3-1 lead to win Game 2. So Quinnipiac would head into was looking for some revenge against Canisius and try to even up the MAAC standings, and it would take a little magic, as you will see here.
So before this highlight comes in, Canisius and Quinnipiac, Canisius beat Quinnipiac in the playoffs to advance to the MAAC championship here. We got a little softball graphic coming, but here are the baseball standings. We'll get that to you guys first. The 3rd game is Quinnipiac is 7-2. They're tied with Canisius. At the top is Canisius, won 2 of 3 here in Hampton. These are 2 of the best teams in the conference. Fairfield in 3rd, Marist 4th. Quinnipiac has Hartford on Tuesday in an out-of-conference game. But now we got the standings, but we're going to do a little reverse order. So, Jack, take away the Game 3 highlights as they come on the screen.
Absolutely. So, from Game 3 here, Quinnipiac was down 9-6 as Husher singles on the ground through the shortstop hole, and that would cut Canisius' lead to 9-7.
And you're going to see that single right here, a seeing-eye single from Husher, knocking that through. Left fielder has trouble. That's a theme in this game.
That's absolutely right. We're going to take you into the 9th inning as Quinnipiac's Andrew Workman is able to get Jacob Victor looking. He throws the old Uncle Charlie right there, and we're going to take you now to the bottom of the 9th inning, and Evan Vollamore hits it high, hits it deep, and it is gone. A solo shot to bring Quinnipiac within a run. Volgamore's 3rd jack of the season. He had a 2-homer game earlier in the year at Norfolk State. His teammates are fired up. This kid is a stud. He's hitting .310 on the season. He knows what's up. Quinnipiac is only down a run, and that would set up the rest of the inning because later in the inning, Brian Morski is able to advance Derek Kerparsik on a sac fly to right field, and that would set up the big boy Liam Scaffarello, as you mentioned earlier, preseason MAAC Player of the Season.
Kid hit stingers.
He did, but this time it did not take a dinger. All it would take was a sac fly to left field, plenty deep enough to score Kaspersik, and we have a tie game 9-9. Free baseball from the queue as we drop it into the 10th inning. Runner on first, 1 out, and the coach puts the hit and run on. Colton Bender slaps it just fair inside the 3rd base bag as Kevin Husher is huffing and puffing down the 3rd base line, and he will score uncontested. And Quinnipiac takes this one in extra innings, 10-9 to salvage the last game of this weekend series. And we would like to welcome in baseball beat reporter Jacob Resnik to talk about the weekend series against Canisius. Jacob, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great, guys. Glad to be here.
So, Jacob, what did this weekend tell you about this team?
Well, first off, you can never count this team out. Canisius was up 3, just needing 6 more outs to complete the weekend sweep. But it was really a valiant bullpen effort and the bench energy, which was kept up throughout the day, that really was able to get Quinnipiac back in this one and take the walk-off win.
And Jacob, you just talked about Quinnipiac getting back into this one. They got 10 runs today, contrary to the first 2 games where they really didn't produce a lot of runs. But to you, who has been the most surprising hitter for the Bobcats?
Well, the most surprising hitter has been the best hitter, and that's Andre Marrero, the junior outfielder. And when you look up consistency in the dictionary, Marrero's the guy you're going to find. Came into the weekend riding a 13-game hitting streak, extended it to 14 in Game 1 on Saturday, snapped it in the second game, but picked up right where he left off today. 2 hits and a walk. Really been a spark plug and a surprising power threat, slugging .550 overall, and that number close to 700 in conference play. So between Marrero, Evan Volgamore, Ian Osberg, Kevin Husher, certainly a lot of offensive threats on this team.
Jacob, everybody knows that baseball games, they start and end on the pitching mound. So from your perspective, who has the best stuff right now from the pitching side of things? Well,
it's definitely Tyler Poulin. He's the #1 starter. He's the most experienced starter on this team, and he worked 6 strong innings on Saturday. The offense didn't help him to potentially get the win, but this coaching staff, the most important thing is that they feel comfortable sending him out there to kick off every weekend. The 3 earned runs he allowed on Saturday, that was actually first runs he had allowed in conference play, so he's been on a roll. Kind of reminds me of Matt Cain, the former Giants pitcher. Not the best pitcher in the league, but is really going to give you 6, 7, 8 strong innings every time he goes out there.
Matt Cain also threw a perfect game in his MLB career, so we'll see if Tyler Poulin can do that. But you talked about Poulin. Andre Marrero's been on a tear. Would you consider them to be the X factors on this team, or is it someone else for you?
Well, the X factor is definitely going to be Liam Scaffarelli. You talked about him earlier. He struggled so far this season. K rate is pushing over 50%, and today he came off the bench for the first time in his 3 years at Quinnipiac. But he has so much power. This is a guy that's hit 31 home runs over his previous 2 seasons at Quinnipiac. So if they can get his thump back in the lineup, that's really going to strengthen the offensive attack, and hopefully going forward towards the tournament time, he'll really step things up.
Jacob, everybody loves to see competitive baseball. They love to see how far teams can go. So this Quinnipiac team currently tied for first in the MAAC standings with Canisius. How far do you see this team going in the season?
Well, you compare the baseball tournament to the basketball tournament a little bit. It's not always the best team that wins. It's the one that wants it the most. And this Quinnipiac team, they want it. So I think if everything's clicking on all cylinders for them, the offense, the starting pitching, the bullpen's going to be super important. And as long as they can keep up the energy, I think this team can make it back to the MAAC finals or even go even further.
Jacob Resnik, thanks for the time and great job as always.
Thanks a lot, Jonathan.
So we're going to have some more Quinnipiac Canisius action. This time, it's going to be men's lacrosse in Buffalo, New York. The Golden Griffs held a 7-goal lead in the third quarter, but the Bobcats fought back admirably. 5 unanswered goals brought them into striking distance. It was 9-7 Canisius at one point, but after that, no goals were scored for 9 whole minutes. That's a lot in lacrosse. But Mario Cato of Canisius was able to break the ice and ended thoughts of a comeback for the Bobcats as the Golden Griffs took this one 10-7. Now, as you see here, we're going to get the MAAC standings going up. Quinnipiac has a huge game next week against Marist. You see the nice goal on the screen from Canisius. But as the standings come up, Detroit Mercy in first place. They're a 3-1 in conference, I believe. And, of course, they're 4-1. They just played and won their last game. But Quinnipiac tied in second at 3-1. That huge rubber match against Marist, that's in Hampton this Saturday. That's going to be a huge one for Quinnipiac if they want to maintain the top 2 positions in the MAAC. Canisius 2-1. They just beat Quinnipiac, Siena, and St. Bonaventure hanging in the cellar at 0-5. Now it's time for our first commercial break. The women's lacrosse team played a thriller against Niagara. We have your highlights on that one after the break.
And the Acrobatics and Tumbling team competed in their last regular season meet. We'll be right back.
2, 1. Welcome back to Sports Paws. It was senior day for the Acrobatics and Tumbling team, and they celebrated with a 274.645 to a 253.940 win against Alderson Brodus. The Bobcats recorded season best scores in 6 separate heats to pave the way to victory. Next up for Quinnipiac is a trip to Texas for the NCATA Championships. And now as the playoffs near, that's Quinnipiac's next matchup. We'll take a look at Acro from last year and this year. Last campaign, the team got to play more games and in turn, more wins. They went and they made it all the way to the finals last year, but fell to Baylor University. That's Waco, Texas, and that's where the NCATA finals will be hosted this year. Quinnipiac, a 4-game winning streak last season, and they also had a 4-game winning streak this season.
From the mat to the turf, let's take a look at the women's lacrosse team and how they did this weekend against Iona and Niagara. Allison Kuhn led the way for the Bobcats on Wednesday as they went head-to-head against MAAC rival Iona. The Bobcats and Gales would be tied at 8 at halftime, but then Quinnipiac started to pull away. 3 straight Bobcat goals to start the second half would be all the momentum the team needed to polish off a great win, 17-14. Allison Kuhn led all scorers with 4 goals. Quinnipiac improves to 5-7 overall record and 2-2 in the MAAC.
So you just heard about the game against Iona. Now let's get to the game against Niagara, and boy, this was a good one. Bobcats, Purple Eagles, senior day. Jack, look how nice it is just hanging out with family before the game.
That's great. Don't you just want to see like sunny days and families together?
As seen in that picture. Now let's take it to the first half. Megan Swazlowski, she's going to drive around net. There's going to be a push there. That's going to be a penalty shot. Drive, deke. Score. Swazlowski, her 28th on the year, gives the Bobcats a 1-0 lead. Later on, penalty shot for Allison Kuhn, and she gets it to go. Her second on the day. That's not the last we'll see from the captain. Bobcats up 4-1. Still in the first half. See, just said Allison Kuhn. There she is again. Inside. Yes, sir. What a goal from Allison Kuhn. Let's slow this one down again. She's going to evade the defender's stick. Coming up on the slow-mo here. Inside. Kuhn driving. And the finish. Goalie, no shot. Quinnipiac up 5-2 now. 6 minutes left in the first half. Here's Allison Kuhn again, threading the needle to Julia Corris, senior to senior on senior day. The Bobcats have an 8-2 lead here. They would go up 11-4 at halftime, so nothing to worry about, right? Up 11-4 in the second half, but Niagara would come storming back. Rachel McCain would earn a penalty shot, and she would bounce that one, and it's 11-7. Quinnipiac's up 13-9 at this point, about 14 minutes to play. Caroline Crump putting on some moves and applying the finish. A sweet goal there. 13-10 Quinnipiac. Now Shannon Savage for Quinnipiac is going to live up to her last name, because look at the savagery here to drive in on that penalty shot and finish that one. Bobcats up 14-0. Time is ticking. Still nothing to worry about, right? Wrong. Niagara would tie this up at 14. We'll take you to a minute left. Alex Leo for the win. She got it. A 7-goal lead evaporates for Quinnipiac. The Purple Eagles win this one 15-14. And now with that result, let's take a look at the MAAC standings. So you see Quinnipiac in 6th place there, 2-3. That's kind of huge because the top 6 teams qualify for the playoffs, and Quinnipiac plays 3 of the better teams in the conference. Fairfield leading the way, 4-0. Siena at 4-1.
Softball took an 8-mile road trip to the Elm City to face in-state rival Yale in a doubleheader on Wednesday. Quinnipiac came out swinging in Game 1, putting up a 5 spot in the second inning, highlighted by Akayla Jensen and Rebecca Drake's pair of 2-run doubles. Drake and Aaron Larson would both end up with 3 RBI games as the Bobcats defeated the Bulldogs 9-0 in Game 1. Game 2 started a little rocky for the Bobcats when Yale jumped out to a 3-1 lead in the first, but Quinnipiac got those runs back in the fourth on a bases-clearing 3-run double by Megan Dyson, and the Bobcats didn't look back, scoring runs in the 5th, 6th, and 7th inning to sweep the doubleheader 8-3. With the sweep over Yale, the Bobcats would be riding a 6-game winning streak going into a doubleheader against Monmouth University in West Long Branch, New Jersey. Monmouth came in winners in 5 of their last 6, and their pitchers took a no-hitter into the top of the 7th, but then Quinnipiac's Bridget Douglas hit a single with 2 outs in the 7th inning to break up the no-no. Monmouth would get the last laugh, however, and capture a 3-0 win in Game 1. For Game 2, the game was tied at 3 going into the bottom of the 7th, and with 2 outs, Monmouth's Amanda Hopick singled to center, and the Hawks would sweep a thrilling doubleheader and walk it off 4-3.
Now, Jack, we're going to take a look at what's on tap for this weekend. So we're going to get a little weekend preview graphic coming up, and then you can tell me which matchup you're most intrigued by.
Absolutely.
So one that I know off the top of my head, men's lax at Marist, that's something that I noticed, and there it is in the top left. Why don't you tell me one game you're into?
I'm really into this baseball game because this baseball team, they had just a really rocky weekend, and I think that they are going to go into Explorers, and they are going to have a great game on Sunday at 12. And that's all the time we have for Sports Paws tonight. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Q30Sports and check out our website on Q30TV.com.
For the production crew and everyone behind the scenes, he's Jack Main. I'm Jonathan Banks. We'll see you next week from Studio 125.